How we doing? So I'm with my friend Mick here, and we're gonna kind of go around today testing the Sony A73, which is his camera, and compare it to my new-ish Fuji XT4. So really quick, I guess just tell us a little bit about the rig.
Well, super simple setup. Tamron 28 to 75 millimeter.
And that's f2.8?
F2.8, yes,
That's
sir.
Actually perfect, because I have the Sigma 18 to 35
Nice.
1.8, but with the APS-C versus full frame, I think it'll be really comparable.
Sweet.
So this first test, I think we're just gonna do some walking Ibis test. A lot of people always ask about the Ibis on the XT4, and I'm genuinely curious just to see what it looks like compared to his A73's Ibis. So we'll probably shoot one shot walking at the widest focal length, so 24 for him, 18 for me, and then punched in all the way on our lenses. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna do a slow motion test. The XT4 goes 4K DCI up to 60 frames per second. A73, 4K 24 or 30?
4K 30, I think.
Okay,
yeah.
And then I think yours does 1080,
120.
120. Mine does 1080, 240. It's pretty soft, but we will compare. Okay, current mission is to do autofocus test. So the thing is, I have an adapter on my camera, but I can still get good autofocus results. I have my settings set to this. And so we're just gonna compare, it's like the general walking up face tracking test, A73 versus XT4. All right, now we're zooming in to 35. Now we're walking. Yo, that's pretty good.
Yeah?
It's not bad. Once you get far back like that, it loses track. I'm gonna walk with the same arm, the same leg.
Oh, you're so tall, I had to tilt. Nice.
Punched in Sony A73 test. And it's super close.
Yeah. Cut off your forehead a little. It's definitely slower, but not
I'll
too
go.
bad.
I'll do a nice slow walk.
Okay.
How are we doing?
Ooh, it's trying to catch up right now.
I'll do one fast one. Actually, let's go wide, and I'll do a super fast one.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Wide.
Nice. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Nice.
As far as the ergonomics go on my A73, I love the grip. It fits well in my hand personally. I came from the Sony A6500. The grip was a lot smaller. The grip is bigger because it fits their bigger battery, which is also very good. The EVF on this thing kind of sucks. But that's based on like the scientific stuff. I couldn't even tell you the specs. When I look at it, it's like, it's fine to me, it works. But if you kind of like a connoisseur of EVFs or something, you would know that it sucks. I don't really know when I look through it. So the LCD is also pretty poor quality. When it's full brightness, it actually drains a lot of the battery a lot faster. I've kind of learned to live with it more dim, but it's so far it's worked fine for me. I came from the Sony A6500 and that thing was really dim.
So when it comes to the XT4, this isn't the XT4 because we're using it to film. The XT4 Ergonomics, so far I'm really liking it. I've used it on a couple pro gigs, made some YouTube vids with it. I like the grip as well. The A73 is, I think, a little bit sexier when it comes to the beef of the grip. XT4 battery life is awesome, way better than the XT3. They also put an updated battery in it, so it just lasts a lot longer. EVF and the screen on the XT4 are both amazing. You can really jack up the brightness. I haven't tested how long the battery lasts if the brightness is all the way up, but they both look awesome. Super sharp, really good detail. The XT3's screen was just tartar sauce. We completed our mission. Now we're doing an A73 versus XT4 weather sealing.
Oh yeah, perfect timing.
So whoever's camera survives has better
we'll find
weather sealing in this rain. All right, bye dude.
All right, man, bye.
Famous goodbye vlog shot, see ya. He's awesome, go follow him on Instagram, Mick Jacob. I totally will, thank you for that suggestion. The Sony A73 and the Fuji XT4. Two beautiful cameras, wonderful cameras, honestly. You can't really go wrong with either one. The image quality of both of these cameras is honestly really nice. Both of them look great. I think the A73's color is one of the best for the Sony cameras. I think they really improved their color science with that camera. And then you have the Fuji XT4, which honestly, it just kind of has a vibe to it. And it's a delicious vibe. I really like the colors. They're both nice. And you can tweak them to make them similar with fancy color grading. The Ibis, you know, is kind of a different story. The Sony is pretty shaky looking in general, even with Ibis on, and the Fuji XT4 looks pretty good if you're just shooting handheld, not moving very much, but both of them when you're walking are just kind of poo-poo. The Fuji XT4, the Ibis just feels like it's trying to catch up to what you're doing. I've been saying that in my videos, but it just seems like it's behind. It's not up to that beautiful GH5 or Olympus level yet. I hope that Fuji can address this in a firmware update. I wanna make a video about everything Fuji could address in a firmware update, but both of them are just kind of mediocre. I think maybe the Fuji has a slight leg up. It's just kind of got some weird movements. Now, when it comes to slow motion, right off the bat, I have to give a leg up to the Fuji because it does 4K up to 60 frames per second, 10-bit internal to an SD card, which is bizonkers. And typically I don't even say that word on the channel just because of the amount of weight it carries, but it really does mean something here. In full HD, the A73 goes all the way up to 120 frames per second, and the XT4 goes all the way up to 240. And honestly, both of them have pretty great 1080 slow motion. When I first got the XT4, I thought that the slow motion in 240 frames per second wouldn't be very sharp, and it's not perfect. It's definitely softer than 4K, obviously, but it still is usable, especially if you're just making YouTube videos and uploading things that people will watch on a phone. For me personally, whether I'm doing slow motion for YouTube videos or client projects, 60 frames per second is more than enough for me for slow motion. The only time I would really use 120 frames per second is if I'm making a cool guy travel film and I need to like have my shirt off, show off my 8-pack, and show like Bali in slow motion. That's really the only time I would use 120. Now, I suppose we have to mention autofocus because that's what all the kids are raging about online these days. And honestly, with this comparison between the two cameras, it's kind of hard to talk about autofocus. Both of them work okay. The XT4 works okay, but it's kind of a unique situation. I have a Sigma 18-35 as my main lens with a Fringer adapter, and I'm still getting pretty dang good results on the XT4. But we also know that Sony's autofocus is starting to really compete with Canon's, which is the best, and Sony's just kind of got it dialed in. It's working really well. I think it just all comes down to what lenses you're gonna use. If you're using native lenses, the autofocus will always be better. You know, there's also a reason people call me Turd Boy. That's because I love a good log. Testing the F-log profile on the XT4 and the S-log profiles on the A73 was enjoyable. What am I saying, dude? I'm tired. So far, I'm really enjoying F-log on the XT4. It looks gorgeous when you color grade it. I've been using Film Convert, and for this video in particular, I really just tried to do a basic grade, not make it look too stylized. I used the same film stock emulator on the A73's log profile and F-log on the XT4, just to try to make them somewhat similar with their colors. They're both nice, but I'm a fan of Fuji's colors. S-Log 2 looks wonderful on the A7 III from what we tested and what I graded on this camera. I don't have a ton of experience with it, but working with it on this video has been awesome. In that short little test we did of the S-Log 3 profile, I could see some weird like color blotching on my face, and I think that's just because you can only do 8-bit, unfortunately. So if you output to the Atomos, I think you can get 10-bit. Do we get 10-bit with Atomos? Well, there's your answer. But that's what I really like about the X-T4 is if you need a really light camera rig, you can just shoot internal and get 10-bit all the way up to 4K 60, and that's glorious. And if you want a bigger setup, you could throw the Atomos recorder on the X-T4 and get ProRes HQ 10-bit, and that would be easier to edit for sure. And it's just nice to have options like that. Well, we already talked about the ergonomics of the cameras, so let's throw it to outro, Zach. Hey, it's outro, Zach. I gotta be honest with you guys, I'm extremely exhausted trying to do both YouTube and filmmaking stuff. I'm super blessed that that's what I'm doing, but I'm just a little tired. I just really appreciate you guys sticking through it with me and supporting me. And there's actually a new patron to the channel, another new patron, and it just freaking blows my mind. So this video, I'm just gonna dedicate this video to Joel Thomas. He's our newest patron. Guys, I can't even express how much support, how much it means to me. You can become a patron for $1 if you do want to support, and if you don't, I just appreciate you watching my videos. So thank you. I need to take a nap and not do anything tomorrow. See you later.